And a few more. There we go.
Everyone enjoys getting out on the town for some live music. And there's nothing like going backstage and down the hall for a VIP pass to get inside information and interviews with the bands, singers, and songwriters that you enjoy. Welcome to All Around Town Radio.
Looking for the weekend, and I want to see a show. I flip on the poker face, and I know where it could. There's a man over there into the music scene.
Who's that?
Hi, Gina. Hi, Steve. Hi, the one.
Community with great advice. I know who I should go see. So all around town radio.
Show. Hi.
Hi.
Now I'm hearing an echo again.
Oh my gosh.
I'm going to train you yet. I am.
I haven't
put your
touched my
earbuds
computer from the whole time we've been doing this.
Earbuds.
Do you want me to put them in?
Earbuds. Yeah, it would help. It says that on your screen, you know, when you sign in every day, it says put your earbuds in. It'll help reduce echo.
I've never
Hi,
used
Brad.
that. I'll go get them.
Oh, look,
All
I'm
right.
putting earbuds in.
Thank you, Brad.
You're welcome.
How you doing, Brad?
Fantastic. How are you?
Welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you.
Scott, the missing Ceris, and Brad.
Yeah.
Yes, we are here today to talk the Hot Topic Tuesday talk. And Brad last week made the fatal mistake of saying, when you going to have a musician come on and talk about this stuff?
Yeah, I had a wild hair.
You do not know what you've stepped into. I'm going to tell you that right now. But welcome to the broadcast today, everybody. We're going to say hi to some people as they check in as Ceris gets her earbuds on here. And looks like we've got the usual suspects on Glenn on the YouTube channel. Steve Downey, thank you for being here. And who else we got out there? Gina McCann in the house, the lovely Gina McCann. Kareem, how are you? And he wants to kick this off with an important question. Well, thank you for your philosophical question about whether it's envy or jealousy. We'll get to that, I promise. But it's not the same thing. No. But there's a lot of envy that goes on. There's a lot of jealousy that goes on. We're going to talk about the jealousy today in the music community. Hi, Ray Renee. Hi, Toy. How are you? Mike from the Whammies is in the house. How you doing, Mike? Courtney Joe, Hollywood. Ceris, your new friend, Hollywood.
Hi, Hollywood.
He's here. Kathy Laverde has joined us. She's got her popcorn ready. She's ready to watch today. This is going to be a good one, folks. It is. And Kathy said, Brad.
I don't know how to.
Hi.
Yes. Are you hearing okay? DJ calls us the gruesome twosome now. Plus Brad today. He's the better looking one of all of us today because people don't hate him as much as they hate us. Jamie Minnick, thank you for being here.
My
All right.
AirPods aren't working.
Okay. Well, you know, Ceris, it's okay, hon. We'll get it someday. We'll get this down. We will. Let's kick it off today, though, guys. We've got a little talk show to do here. We're gonna do it, and we'll get to the rest of you in the comments in just a minute if I can. But you know, I'm gonna kick it off with this, and this is my perspective on some things on jealousy. Oh my goodness, the echo is annoying as shit. All right, there. Did they capture? No, I don't know. Well, let me get it going here. When good things start to happen for a local artist, people they start to get momentum. It's only natural that it's the way of the world today that musicians around them might feel or express a little jealousy sometimes, or even the people that followed that specific musician or band. Let's say they did a solo act for years and all of a sudden they jumped into a band and it became highly popular. And they don't do that intimate solo thing much anymore. And it makes people get a little jealous. And we're going to kick it off with that. We want a lot of audience stories, though, today. And Brad, I'm going to start with you. Since you've joined Ceris and I want to know a jealousy story you might have run into. And we try not to use venue names or people names, but, you know, throw it at us if you can.
I don't have honestly, a lot of the things that I've always heard were secondhand. So, it was always hard for me to confirm or find out exactly what was said. But when I first started playing full time in the bars, this is ages ago, obviously you start small, and the bigger you get, when you start traveling, things like that, there's a lot of people that are not completely thrilled with that because you've stepped over, and not in a mean way, but you've moved over something that they are doing. But I always said, if you're happy where you're playing, or you're happy with where you're at, then you don't have to worry about it. There's enough gigs for all of us, and I think that's always been kind of the issue. If you're enjoying playing where you're playing, just play there. You don't have to be upset that I'm not playing at that place anymore. And it's there's nothing mean about that. I think people don't always. I think people want to keep them at their level because to get to another level, you have to work harder, and hard work is not always in everyone's forte.
Oh, I hear you. Ceris, throwing it to you for a minute.
Yes.
Can you hear me okay? All right.
Yeah, am I echoing? I've had my earpod buds in.
Oh, yeah, your audio is horrible, but I don't know what's going on your end, but just
To the show, and I'll just go.
kill the damn earbuds and come back to the echo. It's better than what I'm getting. I can't even hear you. So let's go. Sorry, folks, for the technical difficulties. We rehearsed this about 30 seconds before we start.
Thing.
There it is.
Oh, there I am.
Now. You're back. So, Ceris, you see any jealousy in the music business?
I do. I see a lot of jealousy and ego. I see a lot of people hating on you a lot.
Well, we'll get to that later. Thanks for throwing me under the bus early, though. But that's good. Why do you think they hate on me? See, you can't even come up with it.
No, I can come up with that. I know a lot of places, a lot of people hate on other people when they're doing well or when they're not doing their jobs for them. So a lot of people expect other people to do all the promotion for them, to do this for them. And when you're doing it for somebody else and not so much for other people, then they think that you're not being fair or whatever it is, when really in the long run and the short run, it's your job as a musician or venue or whatever it is to do your own types of promotions anyways. This is just a bonus.
It is. And that's all we're here to do, is to support local music. And I will say, I can be extremely vocal, have been my entire life. I've always had a good opinion or a bad opinion about something. And some people don't know how to take that. And if I go into a place and I have it's no different than the food critic walking into a restaurant. If something didn't strike your fancy, you might say it, and man, you get haters for that. And I'm not here to spread unicorns and rainbows all day long. We're here to talk about music, and there are things that are good and bad about the music business in town. And one thing I see is so much of this when you become popular as a musician, and we're talking about musicians today. We can talk about my platform at the end of the show if you want, but let's talk about musicians for a minute. And when you become popular, you have more haters. And in fact, I see, while a little bit of jealousy is expected in the music business, dwelling on it's a big source of distraction for a band. And you can get hung up on, Brad, I know you know this, you can get hung up on social media, man. I mean, you could, because everybody's a keyboard warrior, and if they don't like you, they'll just beat on you. And they've done that to all of us.
Mm-hmm. And nobody has to face the music behind a keyboard. It's not that I'm not a violent person, but I seriously doubt that people would say half those things to your face, given the opportunity. It's easier to type and not really have to leave your house. But social media has definitely changed everything when it comes to this topic.
Oh my God. Yes.
The vocalizing of everything is I long for the days when we didn't know what people thought.
I get it. I get it where, it was word of mouth, and it might be 3 or 4 people that heard somebody say, "Oh, I didn't like that band tonight," or he was rude to me or whatever. But now it's like they put it out on social, and 100,000 people can see it if they want in 15 minutes. That's the scary part of all this. And haters are a whole different breed than jealousy. I don't want to mix this show up too much with, because there are people who are just strictly not happy in their life, and they go through life looking for someone who's successful to pick at. And we know people like that. We all know people like that. And by the way, if you don't know Brad, I didn't really introduce him very well. Brad, he's playing with Audio Graffiti, Shot 30. What else are you doing? Brad, acoustic, right?
Yeah, I play solo most. That's kind of my bread and butter, has been for a long, long time. I had an old band called Cherry on Top for years that was successful. When that ended, we started Audio Graffiti about 3 years ago, and it's just been going gangbusters. Shot 30 is kind of a side project with 4 guys that are all in other bands that kind of come together on occasion and have a good time. And it's a good time. But my main band is Audio Graffiti, that's been on the road quite a bit and doing really well.
Yeah, and you guys are playing all kinds. I live through your pictures in Key West, by the way. I do. That looks fun, man. We're
back there in a month.
That's awesome. Karis, I just popped up TJ's comment there. He says, "I don't think musicians are jealous. He thinks it's more ego." We don't want to confuse competition today with jealousy. Okay, jealousy is a whole nother angle, and we're talking about jealousy today. And Karis, take something here and run with it. If you're hearing me.
Yeah, I'm hearing you.
Okay.
I don't know where to go with this, because it is hard to differentiate between jealousy and ego. I've had a lot more experiences with horrible egos than I have with jealousy, I would think. But I think honestly, I think they're one and the other. I mean, sometimes the way people handle jealousy is pretty egotistical.
Well, yeah, and I'm envious. I mean, I'm envious of people who really get out there and go for it and make it. I mean, I think they're a rare breed sometimes, and it's easy to be an armchair quarterback for me and sit back and say, "Well, that band was all right," or "They were good," but it takes a lot of hard work to be a musician, no matter what you're doing or what you're playing. Solo, duo, band, it's a lot of moving parts, and it's sad that
our friend
sometimes.
Billy McCarthy has a really good comment.
Where is it? Billy, you say?
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to
Billy,
get there. Okay,
I heard you.
It.
I think there are a lot of jealous people that do nasty things to make themselves feel better. But it doesn't actually fix the problem, it just adds more problems.
I think ego and jealousy can be different, but they can also go hand in hand a lot.
Yeah.
And they feed each other. I mean,
they do.
I don't have a huge ego because there are players. Oh, shut up! Kiss my ass. There are players and singers that
wouldn't be able to find it. Your head's so far up.
God, here we go.
Dang.
Here we go.
There's
players. There's players and singers that smoke me. I mean, they're that. But what I hold up, I basically say, look at my calendar. And that's more my ego is, the business side of it is that, because I don't think I'm any better than anybody else, but I do know there are people that are better that might be jealous of my calendar.
And you think that's it a little bit. I think the busier you get and the more you professionalize your musicianship, and not discounting anybody that plays it. Mike's funny as hell there about the hair. But there's a lot of people out there who play on the weekends. Okay. I mean, they do. They have full-time jobs. They play on the weekends, and that's fine. But it seems to be the more you become and the term professional musician doesn't, I guess full-time musician is a better term for that. People start to get really jealous of the fact, he plays 5 nights a week, or, well, that's his living. You go to work 5 days a week. So keep that in mind, folks, before you get too jelly of the schedule there a little bit.
And I am very defensive of it. I work hard, and my hard work happens off stage. People see the payoff. They see the fun, they see, the Saturday night having a good time and the party, and, we all have a great time, but they didn't see the work to get there. It's easy to see the payoff. I'm very defensive of what I've built, for lack of a better word, but I'm very proud of it. But, there's also been plenty of times where people have said something about getting a real job. And I'm like, look, man, this is real. The money's real. I mean, I can tell you that I'm making a living. So, I mean, or it must be nice is something that I've heard a million times. No. And man, if you want to light a fire, if you want to get me up in arms, say it must be nice.
Yeah. It's like they almost dismiss all the hard work you did. Yeah. And it's basically saying, oh, you're just lucky. It must be nice.
And we're not talking about venues today. We're not talking about venues, but I will say, Ceris, I've heard that about your venue. I've heard people say to me, man, Belle and the Bear must be nice. She's got this crowd that's there all the hell do you think she got that crowd? I mean, she worked for it.
I work from the moment I wake up in the morning to the moment I go to sleep. That's how you get it. And I don't rely on anybody else to do it.
First day you open the door, all of a sudden there was a line of 1,000 people outside. That's BS. It takes hard work. It takes dedication to make it in anything in life that we do. We know that. I mean,
on that point, the first time I met Ceris was right after she had just bought the bar. And I was a layover from what it was previously. I was playing acoustic. And, I met you. And you were like, basically I met you as you just bought the bar, and you were just kind of like, I'm going to make some changes, because I was like, we were looking at a bar that was run down. I was playing to very few people, and I was like, I hope so. And that'd be great. I didn't know what was in store for that, but to remembering what it was the day, or not, maybe it wasn't the day you bought it, obviously, but the day I met you after you bought it, and to what it is now, that's an enormous amount of work. And, I hope people, if they didn't know what it was before, can at least take my word on that an enormous amount of work.
Absolutely. I'm reading some of the comments. 7 West, the only person that drives nuts is your wife, Jessica, when you work 5 days a week and play 5 nights a week. And she's home with 3 babies. He hasn't figured that stuff out yet. 7 hasn't. I don't know. It's a little crazy in his household, I'm sure. We're getting to your comments, guys. We want to hear from you. If you have a story about jealousy in the music business, please drop it in the comments. Let us know. We want to hear from you, because this could go a lot of places today. We've got quite a bit of time left to chat, so please throw those in the comments if you will. And and Heath's making a good point. Healthcare doesn't come with being a musician. So and it's the full-time musician life is not.
Want to mute me? Mute me.
Mute you?
Yeah, because I got dog.
There. All right, I muted her. Between that and her background music, I don't know what we're going to do today. Ceris hasn't caught on to this radio business yet, but look at her. I can talk about her and I can have her muted, and she can't say shit. Well, yeah, she can. She can say bad things to me, as she always does. Mickey Evans says he's jealous of everybody. Thank you, Mickey. I'm jealous of your hair, Mickey. I am. But let's kind of, it does nothing to further your music if you're out there as a musician dwelling on the jealousy of other people. Eventually that catches up with you. And I've seen that happen to a lot of folks who are so opinionated about other artists and other musicians online that they alienate everybody that's around them. And pretty soon people start kind of backing off. Brad, have you seen that go on? Yeah,
I mean, I think people don't realize the work it takes. It sounds easier than it is. And I've said that if it was easy, everybody could do it. And I know a lot of people that don't, because when other people become successful, that means it's not outside things holding you down. And they're realizing that, but that's. people like to wallow in their own misery and they want company. But you know, I've always said, and I think I just saw a comment that said this, it was, you know, rather than be upset or jealous or angry about it, maybe take a few notes.
There's a lot of funny comments coming in too today, but in all seriousness, we want to hear from you guys today. Go ahead, Ceris.
Okay. I always say it's always better to sit and listen and learn than it is to drive a conversation, because you will learn. If you just actually listen to what people are saying, you could learn so much. And it doesn't matter if you're well ahead of them or well behind everybody that's amongst a similar situation. You can learn something. You might learn what not to do, but you'll learn something. And it's always take a step back sometimes. You don't have to always be the center to be the best. If you want to be the best, take a step back and listen.
I agree. I've always said that half the time when you're playing a gig, the best musician is probably the guy at the end of the bar, not saying anything, not doing anything. You know, he not asking to get up and sing or asking to, you know, can I play? You know, normally the guy at the end of the bar having a beer, kind of keeping to himself, is likely the best musician in the room, and he's still sitting learning.
Yeah.
Amen.
And then when people say stuff like when there's somebody on stage and they decredit that person, like, you know, what we were talking about earlier, saying, well, I mean, he's here because I got him here,
right?
Or I taught him what he knows, so he's lucky that he's here. That's not nice.
No. Let me say hi to somebody. Braden Raymer has just stepped in. I got to give Braden a big shout out. Braden played with Varner Netherton Revival. He got up. Braden is the gentleman I was talking about yesterday that was in the wheelchair that sang with them and absolutely killed it at Autism Rocks. So Braden, thank you for being on the show today.
Hi, Braden.
Love it.
He actually sat in and sang with me once or twice. So
yeah, he knows so many songs, man. I can't get over how many songs he knows. It's awesome. I'd have to have a prompter in front of me to do any of those songs, but he's doing it. Thank you for that, Banks. I appreciate your comment. And let me say this too. Negativity reflects extremely poorly on you and your music. If you become one of those artists who go into a venue to see another band and you're standing there talking trash, as Ceris is saying about the person on stage, or saying, yeah, I taught him everything he knows and now he's up there being a star and blah, blah, blah. You're doing nothing for yourself. Eventually people catch on to that. And
you just look pathetic.
Yeah, your credit level goes way down. Credit score goes down and people stop wanting to be around you and your music.
The more you make a fit and talk down about others, in my opinion, the less I want to do with you. And you could be the best musician that's ever hit my stage. But again, it goes back to this. If you're nasty to me or really to other musicians, I don't know if there's a place for you there.
Well, only half the job is on stage.
It's literally only half the job. I
mean, you have to be personable and, you know, network well, obviously, but, you know, treat the door guy nice, treat the bartenders nice, you know, I mean, everything. It's just, it's about making connections and being, you know, I'm not, you know, Justin Timberlake here, you know, I can't just walk in, do my job and leave. I mean, you have to have everybody on board with you. I mean, and if I come in and I'm kind of an asshole, I'm not going to have a gig long.
It's also just who you are, though.
Well, you know,
just kidding.
Only when I'm dealing with you.
Little love here going on, Brad. Sorry.
No,
I apologize a lot for my co-host. I do. I spend most of my week apologizing for my co-host.
Whenever I walk into her venue, the first thing we do is roll our eyes at each other like, oh, God.
See?
What's this?
Well, I saw some people at Autism Rocks over the weekend who walked up to me, and most of them said some interesting things about, we really love what you guys are doing. Too bad you'll probably not be on the air long because of you. Did I point at you? I did. And her potty mouth. There's a ton of comments. Keep the comments coming. Thank you, Charles, for that one. We'll throw that one up on the screen.
Thank you.
We're talking about Ceris's hair.
I washed
and
it
Mickey says, can't we all just get along? Well, he loves everybody but Tiny Tim. I agree with that 100%. Let me say something else, too. What I've seen lately, everybody during the COVID saying kumbaya. They loved each other. It was a great thing. But
I don't even want to talk. Yeah.
I mean, it was. And now that the COVID,
that should be a show topic. How things were during COVID and then after COVID.
There was a lot of love then, and now it has become this. Again, back to some people saying, and I'll say this: if you're talented, and the more talent that you have, the more unlikely you are, unfortunately, due to jealousy and people out there, to love what you're doing. I see that happen a lot. It gets depressing for people to say, why are people hating on me for trying to be helpful or trying to be a good musician and somebody that connects with their audience? And people that don't do that shouldn't hate on it. They should learn how to do it. It's just Scott's opinion only. But
again, take notes. I mean, watch. And I'm not talking about me. I'm just generally, if you go somewhere and you're watching somebody that is playing a lot, they're doing something right. I mean, it's not an accident. I've always said I can get a gig once. I can get any gig once, but am I going to keep it? So, I mean, if you've got people that are consistently playing and out all the time and venues are asking them back, they're doing something right. And you got to find out what that is. And that's, it might not be rocket science. I mean, my job isn't always music. My job is bar sales. So as long as I can get the bar to have a good night, that's a general expression I always say, but bar has a good night, I'm personable, I play the right songs, I'm going to get asked back. I mean, it's not that crazy here. But
Brad, can I ask you a question that's off topic?
Please. Just
because you do play a lot and this is your job, do you still love playing music?
Yes.
You do? You have that passion for it?
Yeah, anything can become a grind, and it is a grind, and it's a labor of love, to be sure.
Take time off, I find. Like when you're feeling it, you do take time off.
Yeah, and you have to. I mean, and you're a workaholic like I am, where it's like if I'm not careful, that's all I'll do. I'll wake up and I'll just morning to night, and it's like you have to give yourself time. But I enjoy it. They're the only times. It doesn't take much, but the minute that I go, oh man, I don't know if I can do this anymore, all I think of is, what are my options here? My alternative is to sit behind a desk, and then I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm fine.
You love it though, but you still love it.
Yeah, okay. I do. I love it, and I can't see myself doing anything else. There's a funny story about an ex that I had years ago, and one time, the minute that I realized it wasn't going to work out was when she said, so how long do you think you're going to do this? And I went, well, this ain't going to work because I'm always going to do this.
Yeah. Okay.
Gotcha.
That's good. It's good to hear.
All right. So let's change gears for just a second and talk about also, well, first of all, competitiveness. Competitive things can turn into jealousy.
I love it.
And the music business is competitive, whether we want to say it's that or not. And everybody in the Cincinnati community, they do a lot of embracing of each other and loving each other and some of that. I see it in other communities a little less. Than Cincinnati's a good backbone for music, but yet that competition always seems to eventually turn into a jealous ego issue, things like that. Have you run into any of that, Brad?
Somewhat. I think, it can be healthy, to be challenged. I mean, I want to get better, there's always competition but it's got to be a healthy competition. And I think the good part is a lot of us are friends. It's a very incestuous group of musicians in this town. We've all somehow crossed each other's paths, plays with each other. So we all know each other. We're all friends.
You say incest.
Incestuous. All of our bands work together that way. So,
right. That's good.
But I think it's got to be a healthy competition. Definitely.
It does have to be healthy. There's always one person that sometimes makes it unhealthy.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the jealousy. You can be competitive, and that could really work to your advantage because it will drive you to want to be great, to do better, to do whatever. Or you can do the other route where it's like there's this competition and one person just tries to sabotage, or one person just talks down or just decredits you or whatever it is. That's the worst kind of people.
Yeah. Honestly, the best thing I ever did was when I first started playing more was watch other people. And I wasn't watching in a bad way. It was like, I do want to do that. I know I don't want to do that.
Right.
But looking at it, in a healthy perspective of, what's working, what's not working. And it's okay to find out some things that maybe aren't working. I'm not making fun of them for it. I'm not, mad, but I'm like, all right, that's when I find out what I don't like is when I find out what I do like. And like Billy's saying, competition I think is a good thing.
It's very good.
We need that to get better. And there's a reason I'm not playing in my basement. I want people to see the work and the growth and that's what I want to do.
As long as it's healthy.
Yeah, there's a bad connotation to the word competition. Competition doesn't have to be a negative. It is. It can be a positive if it's done correctly.
Oh, Jamie Combs, God.
Oh, God. Leave it to Jamie to take it to another level.
Yep.
Love it. So I want to go back to what you were talking about at the beginning of the show. I want to say something real quick.
About how people hate you?
What's that?
About how people hate you?
Oh, my God.
No? I don't. I love you.
You're going to make it sound like the world hates me, which they probably do.
I'm just saying you have haters, and I don't get it.
Well, recognition is not always, first of all, a certificate of quality. Some people get recognition for things. That doesn't mean they're great, okay, or anything else. And people get jealous of those kind of things. I put my musical pants on and go out on Friday and Saturday nights to see live music the way any other fan does or person that loves live local music. My thing is, I developed this little platform to talk about local music on, and it wasn't designed to become haters. And I used to seek the approval of venues and people who seemed to have cornered the market on music and all that stuff. I really did. But I found out that was a very small circle and demographic. And I wanted so much to be in the in crowd a little bit, Ceris, and I seem to have been accepted into some of those groups, except I was in the outer circle of the tribe, and at any moment they could put my torch out and send me packing the way I felt in those groups. And then some of them did. And there's a few that coined a phrase out there called jump ship from Scott's show. Well, jump ship. I mean, if you don't want to be promoted, it doesn't affect me in the end.
Like at all.
Does it sometimes bother me? Sure, it does. I mean, everything bothers you. If somebody says something about you, Ceris, you go right to the heart of it and go after it and try to fix it or something like that. But I want to say that drove me nuts, okay, for a while. And I lost a ton of confidence in doing what we were doing on here and all that. And I got kind of bitter. I did, and I'll admit that. But there was this wise person who I'm gonna say this, and people are gonna fall out of their chairs. This wise person who once told me this, and she might be my co-host on the show today. And back in the COVID era, she said, you don't need their approval. You don't need to dwell on promoting those who don't support what you do. And it was like a light bulb came on in my head. And I said, she's totally right. I'd gotten caught up in all that crap and forgotten about the basics of what we were doing here. That was just trying to get this thing going. And I think bands have to do that too. They have to rein it in and say, okay, we got band politics. We got venues that are treating us like crap at times and all that. But they have to say, we got to support each other and not trash talk our guy that got the gig because I didn't, or whatever. And I think some of that comes into play so often now that we're back to normal, so to speak. And Ceris, I just got to say thank you, because Bell and the Bear saved what I do. I mean, it did. I've told you that numerous times. I've said that to a lot of people. It was one of those places through the COVID period that was the zen, I guess, for lack of a better term.
Thank you.
I love you. I love you back. And there's no such thing as cool. And somebody said to me, like I said at Autism Rocks the other day, they gave you these cards. Now your head's so big. Blah. It's like, it's not about that. I'm not any cooler than. In fact, I was like falling over sideways that they made these trading cards because the guys on the trading cards over on the table they were handing them out to are people like David Fulcher from the Bengals and Anthony Munoz and people like that. I'm not in that level, I'm just a guy up there talking on a microphone. So I always try to tell people there's no such thing as cool. Heath Bowling and I have a bet going on how many people would get on here and say, I never say anything bad about anybody. I see that all the time. If you say you've never said anything bad about anybody, you're lying. Okay.
You're the reason that the show exists.
Yes. Because I'll admit I've said bad things about people, and some things I regret and some things I'd say still to this day. So let's wrap this thing up today with a little bit of fun though. Brad, can you think of the most jealous act that's ever happened to you in the music business?
Let me go second on that. Let me give me a second on that one. I'll think of something good.
Ceris, how about you while he's thinking? I know you've got 2 or 3.
Oh, when COVID was going on, there's a couple of a venue decided that they were jealous because I was doing well. So they literally called health department on me. They were trying to bury me. And still up until like a year ago, they were still trying. Luckily, I followed like the rules and I called the health department every 3 weeks to stay on top of it and did everything that I was supposed to do while still trying to keep my business alive. And they knew that it was all false. Also on New Year's Eve, I knew that somebody was going to call and tell them that I was over capacity. So because they would be jealous or because they hate me or whatever it may be. So I made sure I can have a total of a certain amount, like 205. And I made sure I only sold 150. And I'll tell you what, the cops came because somebody made that complaint. And I was ready to say, nope, didn't do it because I knew this. Happens all the time.
Sad. I mean, that is
so sad that you want to see a
somebody
business fail because they love what they do and they're doing it well. It's awful.
It's because somebody did it better because it has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with that person.
Oh, I know that. I know that, but I prepare myself because I know that. And you know what? All it is it's just hard work. Everybody can do it. You just have to want it. That's it, man.
Those kind of people will carry around heavy baggage their whole life because
they really do.
Miserable. Brad, what's yours, man?
For me, early on, I started a band that, and I was trying very hard to make this work. And the drummer decided he wasn't interested, and I said that's fine. He thought that was going to end the band, and got very upset that it didn't. And I continued on, and he started calling my venues that he had contacts at to get my gigs canceled on me. And so I lost, a handful of gigs and things. And it was all the hearsay and stuff. But, basically it took a while for me to recover some of those contacts, but I did. And it was, but yeah, I think that might happen more than we realize because we become friends with the venues too. It's not always just working relationships, it's friendships, and so after a few beers, you start talking trash to a venue owner about another musician. Ooh, that's a problem, so, it's a fuzzy line, this whole business. I always joke, there's no HR department here, there's nowhere to go, It's like, you got to have a thick skin and you've got to try to keep your nose clean, but also defend yourself. You can't just be walked all over. You got to be proactive a lot. It's always easier to tear down than to pull up. I always hope that I'm somebody that can that's helping pull somebody up if I can. So I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. And I've got one I'll share here at the end is, I just talked to an employee from a local venue who's no longer a venue, but they told me, they said the owner was talking about creating an open mic night, and this employee mentioned to the owner and said, hey, why don't you call Scott Hall? He knows a lot of musicians. He'd probably get some people to come in and at least kick it off and get it started. And this owner's comment was, hell no, I'll never call him. He talks trash about my bar. And I will go out on the Heath bowling limb here and say I've never talked trash about that bar, not once in my life. And but there's a specific individual who likes to go around and sit at a bar and tell those stories. And one person, toxic person, can actually destroy everything you try to do in no time at all. And there's a few of those in the Cincinnati market, a few in the Dayton market, and it's a sad thing. Thank you, Dave Kale. It's a sad thing that goes on.
I'll leave it at this. I think, I think we are talking about a very small percentage. Unfortunately, small percentages are very vocal. Like very I said, we are all very much friends, and I think 99% of us are doing these things the right ways and doing our best. But man, that 1% can be brutal.
Well, isn't it like that? I mean, there's always one bad seed in the like. That's what it's always a small percent. These shows, like the Hot Topic, is because it exists. It's a small percentage, but it exists and it makes quite an impact because
obviously. Well, and people talk, but I'll say one more thing. I'm sorry. I know you're trying to wrap up. Scott, I want to make sure that I tell you thank you, because if you don't hear it enough, any musician in this town that you've brought up or talked about should be thanking you. Anytime we can promote each other and, in any form, it's very helpful. And we can always tell you're a music lover, and the more live music lovers we can keep around and keep happy and keep talking, the better. So thank you.
Thank you, Brad. I appreciate you, man, a whole lot. And Michael May, that's a great comment. Everyone should support each other. Never understood people that dwell on others.
Neither have I, Michael. Neither have I.
Michael May from Short of Stable, thank you for that comment. That's one of the best ones of the show today. And that's where we're at. Thank you, Butch Snyder from Standard Country Time. I appreciate you as well.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Brad.
Thank you, guys, for being here today. Hope you had a great time with us. We'll be back tomorrow on Wednesday. I want to tell you, at 5:00 tomorrow, going to have Ceris on, Johnny Fink on, and the folks from the staff fundraiser are going to be with us tomorrow live at 5. And we're going to talk about a fundraiser going on this Sunday. This is the week of fundraisers. And our good buddy Shane DeMoss, Brad, Shane, he's also putting on a fundraiser Thursday night at Harrigan's Tavern in Kettering. You can find that on Until Rust page. It's for a great guy named Brian Boggs, and who's having throat cancer surgery or esophageal cancer surgery. And the benefits, there's a lot of musicians that are pouring their heart out for that, and that's happening at Harrigan's Tavern in Kettering on Thursday. So we'll talk all about that tomorrow, and it'll be good stuff. And thank you, Heath, for saying I'm okay. You're okay too for a little chubby singer, buddy. That's all I gotta say. It is Fat Tuesday. We can make those kind of jokes, okay? From one fat guy to the next. Thank you so much for being here, everybody. We'll be back tomorrow at 5:00. Until then, tune in to some local music somewhere at a venue near you tonight. Thank you, Brad, for joining us. Follow Audio Graffiti and Shot 30, guys. He's always out there doing something. Or follow Brad. Brad.